Senior United Nations officials have paid tribute to the courage and resilience of Somalia citizens who have persevered through some of the toughest conditions in any country on the planet over the past 3 decades.
We're about to start the press conference.
Senior United Nations officials have paid tribute to the courage and resilience of Somali citizens who have persevered through some of the toughest conditions in any country on the planet over the past 3 decades. Somalia crosses its 30th anniversary since outbreak of civil war, which grew out of resistance to the military junta led by Muhammad Siad Barre during the 1980s, and has since made great progress in maintaining peace and order. The UN Secretary-General's Special Representative for Somalia, James Swan, applauded Somalia for making tremendous progress in several sectors such as good governance, the functioning of national and federal member state institutions, private sector investment, public financial management, delivery of services, well-structured security architecture, among others.
Somalia begins 2021 in a better place than 2011, and a better place than 2001, and a better place than the end of January 1991. I also want to stress that ultimately the work of the United Nations is an expression of objectives communicated by the broader international community. Most of the programmatic work is funded through generous contributions by donor countries that have expressed eagerness to contribute to progress in Somalia and use UN entities as a vehicle for channeling that support to Somalis. So really, while we speak of the United Nations, in this case, it genuinely does represent a broader commitment of the international community through our organization to help the Somali people.
The UN envoy was addressing the media at a virtual press conference in Mogadishu, at which he and other senior UN officials spoke about the range of the world body's support over the past year, but also for 2021. Mr. Swan, who heads the UN Assistance Mission in Somalia, UNISOM, was joined in a virtual press conference by the UN Secretary-General's Deputy Special Representative for Somalia, Adam Abdelmullah, who also serves as humanitarian coordinator and resident coordinator for the country, and the head of the UN Support Office in Somalia, UNISOS Assistant Secretary General Lisa Filipito. In addition to UNISOS and UNISOM, there are more than 20 UN agencies, funds and programs working with Somalis in a wide range of areas. This includes long-term development and immediate humanitarian needs, as well as UNISOM's good offices, which refer to its mediating role in resolving differences and disputes. While highlighting its achievements in the country so far, the UN mission has been urging Somalia's political leaders to pursue compromise and dialogue to progress with the implementation of an electoral agreement that had been reached on 17 September last year.
In collective meetings with other international partners and in bilateral meetings, we have stressed the importance of reaching a common understanding on next steps prior to February 8th in order to avoid any uncertainty. We continue to urge Somali leaders of goodwill to redouble their efforts to resolve the outstanding issues of implementation of the electoral process and resolve those issues through dialogue and to reach agreement on the way forward for the good of the country.
In his remarks at the virtual press conference, Mr. Abdulmullah spoke of the wide range of support provided by the world body in Somalia's development and humanitarian spheres, noting both challenges and progress. He said Somalia had begun 2021 with a number of challenges similar to those which afflicted it in 2020. These are the so-called triple shock of climate change, which includes floods and droughts, a desert locust outbreak, and the COVID-19 pandemic. On COVID-19, the United Nations has supported Somalia's fragile health system with its response. This has involved buttressing the government health machinery with testing laboratories, specialized isolation centers, training of more than 5,000 frontline health workers, and the distribution of thousands of sets of personal protective equipment.
With our partners, we will need to step up these efforts in reaching the most vulnerable people affected. Somalia continues to make steady progress under the heavily indebted poor countries or HIPC initiative. Somalia's debt stood at 5.3 billion at the end of 2018. This debt will be reduced to 557 million if Somalia achieves the completion point expected in 2023.
In her remarks, Ms. Filipito outlined how UNISOS had been established 11 years ago by the UN Security Council to provide logistic support to the African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM. Since then, it had received additional responsibilities, including providing support to the Somali Security Forces UNISOM and more generally to the UN family and international community. The UN official ended her remarks by noting UNISOS's strong partnership with Somalia's federal government and federal member states, AMISOM and the African Union and UN operatives in the country. Kamel Sadiq reporting for CBA TV.